Here he comes,
Comes
here he
George.
comes.
Right on time.
We were waiting for you.
I apologize.
No, you got a minute. Plenty of time.
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay. Okay, good evening. It's 6 PM, January 25th, 2023. I'd like to open the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for this evening. I'd like to also announce that this meeting is being televised live on local channel 18. So if we could all rise, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next, does anybody have a public comment regarding anything not related to any agenda items tonight? If so, you can come up and sign in, and you can have 3 minutes to make your comment. Okay, doesn't look like we have any takers on that. Okay, I'm going to ask for public comment on each hearing at the end of that presentation. Okay, members, ZBA members Scott Goldstein, Jim Gould, Sharon Sangaleer, and Bob Caggiano are absent tonight. So sitting on our first three hearings will be our regular board, first hearing will be our three regular board members, as well as Brad and George. So Charlie, would you read the first continued hearing?
Sure, will do. Continued hearings for January 25th, 2023. 65 Redwood Circle. Petitioner Mike Canada requests a written finding under 174-17 of the zoning bylaws to allow for an extension to an existing garage on property located in an R5 zoning district, map 27, parcel 94, Mashpee, Mass. Owners of record, Joseph J. and Kathleen C. Shulo. Continued from January 11th, 2023.
Hi,
Hello, how are you guys?
welcome back.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me back.
Yeah, I think we just need an update of the plan?
Yeah, so last time we were here, just a quick review, we were looking for the 5-foot extension toward the street, and the question came up on the sideline that we weren't sure about, so I had the engineer re-engineer the drawings that he had given me, and
Yep.
the other question you had was on the lot coverage, which I didn't know the answer to either because I didn't have a full set of footprint plans on the architectural side. So I have all that data now, and it meets all the zoning criteria, both sideline setback, not by much, but it meets it, and it's under the 20% coverage. So the current lot coverage is 15.1%, and the proposed is 18.2%. And the setback in that front corner that was in question and to the sideline is 15.04 feet.
Looks good to me.
Yep, so that was pretty much the questions you guys had for me last time that I could not answer for you.
Okay, any more questions,
No, I
comments,
think he's
concerns?
answered all the questions that we had.
Okay. Why don't we read in the Board of Health and Conservation? Do you have the Board of Health?
I don't from the last time, no.
All right, I have it here. New septic will be installed, percolation test done on 12/29/22. No problems with extension. And Conservation?
Likewise, I left the
That's
last
all
meeting,
right.
so no.
It says here, the Conservation Commission has approved this project and found it will not have adverse impacts to the inland bank leading to Mashpee Pond. Mitigation has been proposed and approved to compensate for the extension to the garage. So it looks like we're all set on those. Anybody in the audience have any comments? Okay, seeing none, Ron, would you like to make a motion on this?
I would like to make a motion that we issue a written finding to Mike Canada of 65 Redwood Circle under section 174-17 of the zoning bylaw to allow for an extension to an existing garage and property located in R5 zoning district, map 27, parcel 94, Mashpee, Mass. Owner of record, Joseph J. and Kathleen C. Caiello, with the following conditions. One, the board has determined the applicant meets all the conditions of the written finding under Mass General Laws 48, Section 6. Two, site plan 65 Redwood Circle, Mashpee, Mass., prepared by Rob Sykes, PLS East Bound Land Surveying, Inc., date 4/7/2022, scale 1 inch, 20 feet, drawn by RBS, job number S1005, revised 1/12/2023, dimensions and areas. And I'd like to state, so that's the side yard, front right side yard setback that was revised?
That's right.
And then also lot coverage.
The lot
correct?
coverage percentages were not listed.
I
They
think
are
that's
now.
important to add to that.
Yeah, they're on.
Right. And number 3, house plans, proposed kitchen garage addition renovation prepared by Joseph and Kathleen Piolo, 65 Redwood Circle, Mashpee, Mass. Date, October 2021, page 1 of 5, right side elevation, front elevation, page 2 of 5, rear elevation, left side elevation, revised 6/29/2022. Roof pitch, page 3 of 5. First page, page 4 of 5. Foundation plan, page 5 of 5. Framing, section N, prepared by ARC Design LLC, Alan R. Cabral. 4, condition on all town comments read into the record. 5, all can changes to plans will require the applicant return to the board. 6, the board finds the application estimated shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure or use to the neighborhood, and therefore, and also there is sufficient land for parking and the setbacks, and there are no additional, what's the third thing? I'm gonna find?
No additional,
Non-conformances?
No, and there are no additional nonconformings.
Okay, do we have a second?
second.
Okay, I think George was first, so George gets the second. Okay, Brad, how do you vote?
Yes.
Charlie?
I think it's George, isn't it?
Oh, excuse me, you're out, aren't you?
Yes.
George? And Ron?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Well done.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Did you get that, Marion, that last sentence? Yes. You threw me off. But I got it. It's okay.
All right.
Worked out
Thanks,
good.
Dave. I appreciate it very much. Thanks
Good
for
luck.
having me back. All right.
Good night.
Want me to wait till that comes around, John?
Okay, the next one's going to be Charlie and George.
Okay. And by the way, I did find the papers that I didn't think I had. They were at the bottom. My mistake.
That's all right. 25, isn't it? 25, 23. Good.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Charlie, would you read the first new hearing, please?
Yep, will do. New hearings, January 25th, 2023, 80 Waterway, owners George C. and Mary L. Silvestro, trustees request a special permit under 174-17.1 and 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to raise a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling and replace it with a new single-family dwelling on property located in an R3 zoning district map 105, parcel 214, Mashpee, Mass.
I'm going to share with you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Christopher Corain, representing George Silvestro and Mary Silvestro, who are here in the audience tonight, as well as Greg from ResCom, who's the architect for the project. As stated in the public hearing notice, we are seeking a special permit under Section 174-17.1 to raise and replace an existing, pre-existing non-conforming structure. We are located in the R3 zoning district in New Seabury. So the existing structure was built in 1968. It is neither building code nor flood zone compliant. It is also non-conforming in several additional aspects. The front yard setback is 33.6, where the requirement is 40. The westerly side yard is 13.8, where you need 15. The easterly side yard is 11.8, where you need 15. The setback to wetland to the nearest structure is 16, where you need 50. And as a result of the waiting place decision, we are entirely within land subject to coastal storm flowage, so we exceed the lot, the lot coverage is exceeding. So we're non-conforming in that aspect as well.
The shed coming out?
The shed is being removed? Yes, the shed is being removed. So what we are proposing is a two-story, four-bedroom structure. Currently, there is a denitrification system on site. So there is already an IA system on site. From the Board of Health comments, they, stated that it is a four-bedroom system, and they've counted 4 bedrooms, so we meet the Board of Health requirements. We are slightly increasing the front yard setback, so as I said, where it was 33.6, we're moving it to we'd be proposing to bring that up a little bit to 31. However, we are improving the westerly side setback, so that's going from 11.8 to 14.2. We are eliminating the easterly side yard setback nonconformity, so we'll be conforming at 16.4. The setback to the ocean, which is the nearest wetland, will be improved from 16 to 18 feet. Although technically we're being within SCSF, we violate the 50-foot just because we're in the whole wetland resource area. But if you're looking at it from a positive, again, at least from the ocean, we're moving it away by 2 feet, from 16 to 8 on waterway.
But it's really zero.
It's really 0 because of the land subject to coastal storm flowage. So the
But
lot,
you're improving the zero.
yes, we're improving the 0, so to speak. The lot coverage is increasing by approximately 330 square feet. Under the way the board used to look at lot coverage, we would have met the 20%, but now that we're in the LSCF, it's 100% and we're over. But I would point out that despite the structure increasing, the actual overall lot building, the footprint of all hardscape is actually decreasing on site by about 400 square feet because we're eliminating a lot of patio. So patio isn't considered, because it's ground level, isn't considered lot coverage by the bylaws definition. But as I say, that hardscape is being removed, and so we're actually increasing the amount of hardscape overall that's being eliminated. And I did, to confirm that, I did provide the minutes from the Conservation Commission meeting where the engineer Mike Berselli made that comment. It is part of the minutes from Conservation Commission. So I think that ultimately is a positive, even though the lot coverage, so to speak, is increasing for the building itself. So the structure will be building code compliant. The structure will be flood zone compliant. And it was approved by the Conservation Commission back in earlier last year. It was approved by the Conservation Commission. Pursuant to 174-17.1, the board has to make 3 findings. That there are no new nonconformities being created, and in this particular case, we are not creating any new nonconformities. There is sufficient parking on site, so a residential structure, 2 parking spaces. There's certainly plenty of driveway space to accommodate parking. And the board must find that the proposed structure is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what currently exists. So I provided the board with my presentation written materials. On pages 4 and 5, I've laid out basically proposed findings to support a decision by this board to approve and to make a finding that the project is not substantially more detrimental to what is existing to the neighborhood. And those are as follows, and again, it's on page 4 and 5 of my presentation. The existing non-conforming easterly side yard setback of 11.8 is being eliminated and will become a conforming condition at 16.4. Number 2, the existing non-conforming westerly side yard setback at 13.8 is being slightly improved to 14.2. The setback to the ocean is improving from 16 to 18 feet. The structure, as I stated before, the structure, which was built in 1968, is neither building code nor flood zone compliant. The new structure will be flood zone and building code compliant. The project was approved by the Conservation Commission on February 10th, 2022. All stormwater runoff will be captured on site through the use of dry wells. While there is an increase in lot coverage, as I stated before, there's an actual decrease in hardscape coverage on the lot by approximately 400 square feet with the removal of the concrete patios that, aren't counted as lot coverage under the bylaw definition. And finally, the expansion is consistent with projects that this board has approved. Now, again, under the new interpretation, we don't go by the old, it would have been under 20% had we done this project 6 months ago. So it would have been completely compliant with the maximum. It's not inconsistent with what this board has approved for expansion. I would point to 44 Waterway, which was approved by this board in November, 62 Waterway, 26 Waterway, and 50 Waterway, which have all been, pretty, not all of them aren't quite as recent as 44, but all approved in, similar type structures. And if I provided some photographs as well as part of my presentation so you can tell that this project is not inconsistent with what's been approved in the past and what's existing in the neighborhood. So with that, that is my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions or turn it over to Greg if there's any architectural questions.
Just a question. It looks like you took out the patios. And I'm looking at the new proposed house, and it's got a real dark line around it. Then I see another line, and it goes up to 18 feet to the water. So is that other section also part of the house, the new house?
I don't know. Greg wants to answer that. So this, I believe, is all.
Yeah, it's dark. I don't know if this is all house or just this.
Is that patio?
Yeah, this is raised patio.
Well, not really raised, it might be slightly raised, like under 30 inches. Just 8 feet.
Yeah, but that's the current house right now, right?
The pink is the current house. So how it's kind of like almost like a flower.
Yep.
That's the current house. The yellow is more of a box. That's the proposed
So the
house.
proposed box, though, includes an area that is pavers or patio, which is the box he's speaking of, I think. Correct?
Yeah, that's the line of the house right there.
Yes, and if you go back to the next line close to the water, that's the patio line,
That's
correct?
patio,
Correct.
yeah.
That's all patio.
And that's a little bit of deck extension over the
And is that eliminated, that patio?
No, that's inclusive of the new design.
That's including the new
Some,
design.
some of the houses going over
For the patio?
the old patio, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah, because it's kind of, we're kind
That's what I'm
of
Yeah.
turning the house, so to speak.
But it never exceeds the distance here.
Right.
That distance is where it goes.
So you did not expand any nonconformities?
Only one,
Expand.
the front.
The front yard setback went to what, 35, I think?
31, it went from 33 to 31. That's the only one. Otherwise, any other
Everything else is
non-conforming is
improved.
either being improved or eliminated.
Could you give me, I had those, I read the notes, Mary Ann submitted them to me in reference to your approval.
Yes.
Could you give those to me, please, now?
Yes. Just read them, or do you want the,
I would like to have a copy of them.
oh, absolutely.
If I were asked to read a motion, I might read them into the motion.
Yeah, you could have them.
Sure.
It's my only copy, but if you want.
Well, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, that's
I won't
fine.
write on it, but I think
That's fine.
if I were asked to read a motion, it makes sense to probably read that in.
Absolutely. That's why I provided it.
Right. And I did read it before.
It's pages 4 and 5 would be the findings.
So one point you might want to make, Chris, is that the front yard setback looks like it's dimensioned to the walkway.
You see them?
I did, correct,
Yes.
which is pavers.
Oh, okay.
So structure, I thought we actually proved it.
Yeah, I said, unfortunately, Mike's not here, but Yeah, so we may actually be improving the front yard setback, because again, he's 31.6 to that proposed walkway.
Yeah.
31.0, I see
Yeah,
on the
when we
plan.
designed it, that was our intent. I believe that's how it laid out. I think it's just how we.
Okay.
And the plan shows, I think John just said the plan shows 31.0.
Yes, to a walkway, though. The walkway wouldn't be set
Walkway, it's
back.
not-
Right.
so I
We
think
don't
he-
know the actual
He
number.
think, I think he thought that was deck, but, you know, we had that as paved.
It would look like the new house may be a little bit closer, like maybe a foot or two than the existing house.
But it doesn't show it on the plan. though.
Exactly, it does not.
This is the new house, this is the.
If you look at the existing front left corner,
Yeah.
and then if you look at the proposed, like, front middle, they almost line up, but it's hard to tell.
Right, yeah, it's pretty close.
If you look at my drawing, the floor plan, that red line is the existing setback. What's behind it. So, again, I think he's
But if you look, see this right here,
Yeah,
compared to that right there, look at how close.
Let me see what you're looking at.
you can't really tell.
So see this, Jonathan? That's existing house, setback to street.
I agree.
This is future house, setback to street. Forget about the walkway, that was not a setback. Look at how close it is.
That's the existing house, this is the patio.
That is
Looks like
real
it might be a
close.
foot closer.
It may or may not, but it's,
Do we need a number there?
We need a number there.
you know.
So they don't have a number.
So Chris, may I show you something, please? Yeah. Either I'll go there, you can come here.
31.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, I may have to ask the zoning enforcement officer, but that is the closest setback to the street. What we need to know is, what is the closest setback of this structure to the street? Proposed. I don't think you have it on the plan.
I don't see it. As I said, he did it to this.
Yeah, but you don't want, proposed walkway has nothing to do with it, I don't think.
Nope.
I have the existing conditions.
Yeah, well, but the existing, well, it'll help us in the future, but we need to know to proposed.
Right, so the existing right now is 33.6.
So I guess my question is the new house, and we probably need it on a plan.
not closer than that. I think it's actually.
31?
Looking at it, it looks hard to tell. It looks really hard to tell.
See what he's talking about there?
Is that in?
I'm missing a point, yeah.
I'll show you.
That's a good question. Says a proposed walkway, so it's gotta be included.
No, yeah, the walkway wouldn't be included in setback.
No.
We need a real plan.
So I guess my question is, I'm only speaking for myself, is what is, so when I ask you the question, Chris,
Yeah.
are you reducing, are you expanding? How do you know the answer to that question if you don't know what the setback is?
Well, again, I was going based off Mr. Borselli's plan that showed me
So from here
making it,
to there, what is it?
increasing the setback. So that, I was saying that it was not
we
being
need to know
improved, it was
that.
being increased.
And we need to know that. That's
That's the
existing,
old- That's the old.
and that's proposed.
Proposed.
But I mean, but we're certainly not creating any new nonconformity, which is really,
I think it's safe to say.
Well, but you may be expanding on one.
well, I've already stated that I am.
Yeah, no, but I'm wondering if you're doing two.
No, no, it'd be the same thing.
That was the one he's talking about.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
only
you're right,
talk-
you're right.
I'm only talking about the only thing that would be potentially expanding is the front yard setback. So we're talking the same thing.
So we know
Oh,
that
so then he'd
I
go
agree,
back to
but we
here,
should
you're
have a
saying?
number.
So that is to the
Why is
walk,
he showing a solid line there?
no, it's gotta be there. Right.
I would then use,
What's the
All right, ask
31
him a
refer
question.
I would use the.
May I ask you a question of your plan, please?
Yep.
So the way you drew
George,
this.
the
Trying
31
to comprehend.
is to the
So the pink
walkway.
is the existing.
Doesn't
Those are
count.
steps.
Right.
Yeah, but, so.
There was no need to put that number there.
No, there was no
Building
need.
line is what Chris highlighted,
Doesn't help us.
So why would you include steps in the building line?
because those are wooden steps and then these are paving steps.
Yeah, but even wooden steps and an access are not included in the setback.
They're
right?
exempt.
They're
Steps
exempt.
are exempt.
So my question is where's your building line? So does it come across here?
Yeah, 31, is that the one with here?
Here's existing,
I see.
Yep.
closest existing, right here.
So then it's clearly not expanding on a
Now,
pre-existing
here's
non-conformity if it doesn't include those two
He's
steps.
not expanding on it, he's reducing it.
To
All right, I
here,
think we got it.
we don't know.
So,
Those are steps. The building line is back here.
right, okay.
So it's further back than that.
So the,
It's a left.
So,
The 31 goes.
so
all the way
Ron, I
back
don't
to
think you
here.
need to worry in your motion.
I don't believe so. Are we certain of what you just stated to me?
Yes, I am, and I confirmed that with the architect.
All right, so those
Get that,
steps
Dave?
are not part of an alcove ring like that. Those steps are in addition to.
Correct.
So the bottom line is the face of the building is at the beginning of the top step. Those two steps are beyond the building.
That is correct.
So that would mean that your existing building would be closer to the road than would be your proposed
That is
building.
correct.
Correct.
Yes.
So you don't need to even note.
Let me show you.
Don't need to even note the numbers.
We were talking about this corner here, weren't we?
For the others,
But these are steps. Yes. So that it's
you're
really
going to
like
show
here,
the improvements?
not here.
So the one nonconformity that is increased is.
So it isn't even, so correct me if
It
I'm
is
wrong,
not
that nonconformity is no longer
No,
increased.
based on our discussion, it's not
So
increased.
there's no new ones and there's no increase.
There's no increased.
That's all I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and that's
Okay,
correct, and the architectural plan does clearly show it, because we we laid it out, not the site.
Yes, you can see it right here.
Yeah.
So I had a question.
Yes.
Lot coverage is currently existing house 16.6.
No, it's based on the waiting place decision, it's technically 100%.
Oh, okay.
But if we were going by what we've done traditionally, yes, it was 16% and it was still gonna be under the 20%.
So it goes 16 to 19.
Yes,
19.9, but that doesn't really matter.
it doesn't really matter. Based on that decision, it doesn't really matter.
I got you.
But again, we
With
tried
that
to,
measurement.
it's not inconsistent with what this board would have approved for lot coverage increases.
So if there were a motion made,
Yes,
and that motion said something to the effect that prior to a building permit, you'd have to do a plan that depicts pre-construction setback and setback, front setback, and you would not be increasing on that setback, you'd have no problem with that motion?
I'd have no problem with that motion.
Okay.
Just on the proposed plan, let us know what the setback would be. So just tweak this plan.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can sign it, and it's correct.
So you're gonna show existing
Yes.
after construction actually should be larger than today.
Right, exactly.
So we can make a vote contingent,
Got it.
not condition.
If I were asked to do so, it's right there.
Understood.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
Anybody in the audience? Ron, would you like to make a motion?
You know what, could I ask one?
Oh, wait a minute, we've
Oh,
got,
we've
we've
got a
got
couple
stuff
of
to
things to
read
read
in.
here.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All right,
We do.
let me go first to, there's a letter from Erica Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, indicating that the 80 waterway is subject to coastal storm flowage. So we have that in the record. Secondly, Conservation Department comments, the 80 waterway. The Conservation Commission approved this project with condition of compensatory plantings mitigation in the areas of existing gardens abutting the coastal bank in exchange for the raise and replace of the single-family home and the temporary impacts thereof to the lot. Additional condition that any restored lawn areas must meet current conservation-friendly lawn standards as per Regulation 31 under Mashpee's Chapter 172 Wetlands Bylaw. Board of Health comments, 80 Waterway. Board of Health. The septic design plan has been approved for 4 bedrooms. The floor plans depict 4 rooms that meet the BOH bedroom definition. The raise and replacement of the dwelling will also require a road inspection prior to approval of the demo building permit. And that's all I have.
So, one comment. So when I gave you my proposed findings, so to speak, I had not seen the conservation, but I would have added to mine the note about the mitigation plantings as being an improvement. So I would have added that to my, whether or not the board wants to add that or not, but it would have been something that I probably would have thrown in there as well.
So you have no problems with the plantings and the mitigation?
No, that's what conservation has required, and that's what will be done.
And we're all set with the plans. Everything depicted is what it's intended to show.
That is correct. So the only thing that we need to provide for the planning department, or the building department, is a revised plan showing the setback to the closest actual structure.
Correct.
On the proposal?
On the proposed plan.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you're here, Chris, because this is very important, because you come in front of the board quite often. First of all, I'm in favor of this application. as submitted. I'm a little concerned, I don't want to open us up for any kind of issues, right?
Yes.
And you're showing lot coverage, proposed at 19.9.
Right. So,
It may be better off to show it at 100%.
yes, I agree.
My point is this.
Right.
Approving tonight, you may want to modify this. I would ask, as one member, I'm asking the following. I'm open to suggestions.
So, what,
That it should show, pre-existing and pre and post under the old theory.
yes,
So that I can sit there as an applicant and say, all right, no McMansion being built here,
Right.
right? And then under the new theory, because you could get into 90% of the lot,
Right.
80% of the lot. So there's two theories but don't make it as lot. Don't call it the old days lot
Correct.
coverage.
Yeah.
Call it something else.
no, I agree with you. I could say footprint, I could do that.
Do you see what I'm saying? So
I do.
Absolutely.
So
I do.
I agree 100%. And again,
The
when I-
board may find it's not more detrimental, we might find all these things,
Right.
but we made a commitment of time. I want to still be able to, as a member of this board, say, all right, we're just going crazy here, and it's going to be 20 to 80% because we're all in a floodplain. I'm not going there.
And I agree, and my recommendation to clients would be look at exactly that, to stay within what traditionally this board has approved.
That's my point.
I don't know how you word that, but you
Right.
word it some way.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So my point is, I think the motion should include something like, this site plan not only has to include the revision for the, what was it?
Setback from the street.
Setback from the front, yes.
Revised zoning
But
table?
also, you should get some
Lot
language.
coverage.
Lot coverage is 100%
Right.
proposed and 100% existing.
Right.
It's pre-existing nonconformity at 100%.
Right.
And I think it should say that. And I also think that you should say something like, pick the language out.
Yep. I'll get
Whatever.
that, right.
You can craft it.
And I think the only reason, because this plan was submitted before that case came
I
out,
get it.
so.
Correct.
But no, but we can certainly amend when we revise the plan, we'll revise the zoning table.
I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one is I want to make it as bulletproof as possible. More importantly for me is I still don't want to open a floodgate.
Correct.
Because there could be a floodgate opening up that says, although we still have to find not more detrimental. So
Correct.
there's a control we have.
We are.
But mentally, I want to be able to say, you're not doing you're not doing anything different than they used to do as far as proving to me the McMansion theory.
Correct. I agree, and I did, nowadays, I've been giving you the zoning table as part of it, and it does have the in parentheses
saw
that,
that.
under
Yeah.
that calculation.
Yeah.
So I've
The
been,
question is, how do the attorneys that sit in your seat that have not been here yet, how are they gonna deal with it? I hope,
Hopefully the same way.
yeah, well, it's gonna be, it's a learning curve, right?
right.
We can still ask the question.
Well, I'm certainly gonna ask it, because frankly, somebody who, I have a problem finding, not more detrimental if it
Correct.
gets into the McMansion stage.
Every,
absolutely. No, I would
every
agree
case
100%.
stands on its own.
Right, I agree.
But I agree, for this board, if somebody were to come in to, try to get an end around, and all of a sudden they'd be going to 60% lot coverage under your old
No.
interpretation, I would.
And that will not happen.
Exactly.
21%.
Right, no, I agree.
Correct.
No, you don't have to go to 60.
Because, as you know, people not in this land subject to coastal storm flowage
Are only limited to
are limited
Correct.
to that number.
Exactly,
Yeah, I mean, it could
So
work.
because you're in,
right.
You're
you're in the
lucky.
flood zone.
You happen to be lucky.
bang, I can do what I want.
No, I agree 100%. So, as I said, I did provide those subcategory calculations to show that we would have been under the 20% based on,
Correct.
how we've looked at it traditionally.
No, we saw that.
And I am mindful of that,
All right,
with any
so
project.
I think we'll beat this one.
I think we-
I did. All right. Any more questions, comments here?
No.
Anybody in the audience? Hey, Ron, would you like to make a motion?
Well, this one's not gonna be easy, right? So let's see. I would like to make a motion that we issue a special permit to Mary L. and George C. Silvestro, trustees, at 80 Waterway, under 174-17-1 and 174-33, the zoning bylaw, to raise a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling and replace it with a new single-family dwelling on property located in R3 zoning district, map 105, parcel 214, Mashpee, Mass. With the following conditions. 1, board has determined the applicant meets all the conditions of special permit under Mass General Law 48, Section 9. 2, existing conditions plan, 80 waterway prepared by George Silvestro, or for George Silvestro, Mashpee, Mass. Plan date January 5th, 2022. Plan scale 1 inch equals 10 feet, prepared by Falmouth Engineering, project number 16031, MLW, drawn by LM, sheet 1 of 2, stamped and signed by Gary S. Labrie, number 40039, professional land surveyor, dated 1/14/22. 3, site plan, proposed house, 80 Waterway, prepared for George Silvestro, Mashpee, Mass. Plan date, January 5th, 2022. Plan scale, 1 inch equals 10 feet, prepared by Falmouth Engineering, project number 16031, MLW, drawn by LM/MB. Sheet 2 of 2, stamped and signed by Michael J. Borselli, civil engineer, number 35054, and Gary S. Labrie, professional land surveyor, dated 12/12/22. Said site plan, prior to the application of building permit, will be amended in the following ways. Number 1, there will be a depiction of the existing front yard setback, well, of the existing house, front left corner, from the street to that corner, and the proposed dwelling from the street to the
Closest.
closest portion of that building. And the proposed should be equal to or less than the existing. There should not be an expansion of this nonconformity. Secondly, the lot coverage shall be amended to state that the lot coverage is a pre-existing nonconformity and is at 100% and will remain at 100%, and will also depict the percentage of the lot that the structure covers, both pre and post. 4, house plans prepared for Sylvester residents dated December 12, 2022, prepared by Rescom. First floor plan, second floor plan, basic floor plan, front elevation, right elevation, rear elevation, left elevation. 5, condition on all town department comments read into the record. 6, also, I'll put it in as number 6. The shed as depicted on the plan will be removed. Number 7, any changes to the plans will require the applicant to return to the board. Number 8, the board finds that the application as submitted is not substantially more detrimental than what prior existed, or let me read that again. The board finds that the application as submitted is not substantially more detrimental than what existed prior to removal of the existing structure. There is adequate land area to provide sufficient parking, and there are no new nonconformities being created. In reference to the not substantially more detrimental, I want to make specific note of the following improvements that will be made in reference to this application. 1, the existing non-conforming easterly side yard setback of 11.8 is being eliminated and will become a conforming condition of 16.4. Number 2, the existing non-conforming westerly side yard setback 13.8 is being slightly improved to 14.2. The setback to the ocean of 16 feet is being slightly improved to 18 feet. The structure built in 1968 is neither building code nor flood zone compliant. The proposed new structure will be both building code and flood zone compliant. Number 5, the project is approved by the Town of Mashpee Conservation Commission on February 10, 2022. Number 6, all stormwater runoff will be captured on-site through the installation of dry wells. Number 7, the expansion is consistent with project approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. If LSC is not, I'm not even going to get into that, period.
Could I ask a question, Ron? Should we acknowledge in the motion that the board is aware that the property is subject to coastal storm flowage, or not?
I think we're doing that by saying it's 100%, and
Okay, good.
I'm
That's
trying
fine.
not to get too far in those weeds, but
I think that's a good idea to mention
it's up
that.
to you.
Yeah.
Because if there's any
will
question.
not
like that,
hurt.
it's-
Listen, I'm open-minded, and if you want me to state that, so that in that lot, I would say that maybe this will help answer that. In the lot coverage of 100%, you're gonna clearly depict on the site plan that 100% of the lot is in that zone.
Correct.
Which makes it 100% of lot coverage.
Correct.
That takes
Does
care
that take care of it?
Perfect.
Okay, is that okay with you?
Mm.
Good.
I
That
think
is my
that's
motion.
a great add-on. Okay,
Good motion.
do we have a second?
I second.
All right, Charlie seconds. Charlie, how do you vote?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
You did.
Ron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Thank you
Nice
very much.
project.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
So we're gonna hold this aside, I'm not gonna sign it until the new stuff comes back. Hope we can sign the house plans. That's not changing.
Council, you might want to send out a notification to all other counselors in the area. I can't go there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have given the engineers a heads up.
My concern is there's gonna be a learning experience here that's gonna probably require a lot of extensions and new meetings and all the rest of it.
And that's why I think it's important, what I did for that presentation with those specific findings, I think is going to be helpful for the board.
Thank you. Would you like this back?
Yeah, I'll take that back.
I didn't read it exactly.
Got any more plans you want to send back?
Word version of Mary Ann, so she can use it as a.
Yeah, I think in the future that would help, right? I think just to show less, not more detrimental, to build on that philosophy.
And she can use it in her decision, when she takes it.
I mean, and there may be times, I'm sure there'll be times when the board won't find that, won't find that way, but at least try to defend the position.
I need a little length in that.
What did I just do? I think I gave up my agenda.
Got mine.
What's the agenda right there? No, some more.
All right, messed up. Hey, Mary Ann, you had an extra agenda? I just gave it out, I think. No, you don't give me yours. You need mine. I don't want to do that to
Trying
you.
to be helpful.
I know, but I don't want to mess you up.
There you go. Hang down.
Bill's
Thank you
always
very much.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, Brad and Charlie are gonna be on the next one.
right.
Charlie, would you read the next new
All
hearing,
right,
please?
next new hearing is number 112 Waterway. Owners Mark J. and Melissa A. Winters request a written finding that under 174-17, 174-33 of the zoning bylaws to allow for an extension, alteration of an existing deck and spa with a raised patio and pool on property located in R3 zoning district, map 105, parcel 219, Mashpee, Mass.
Hi.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Christopher Corain, here on behalf of Mark and Melissa Winters, the applicants and owners of the project at 112 Waterway. We have applied for a written finding pursuant to 174-17 to alter a pre-existing non-conforming single-family structure. Like the other project in Waterway, we are located in the R3 zoning district. The existing structure, the house pool patio, is non-conforming as follows. The front yard setback is non-conforming at 19.6. The northerly side yard setback is non-conforming at 11.2. The setback to wetlands is 43, so it's non-conforming to the 50-foot. And again, this lot is wholly within land subject to coastal storm flowage, so we are non-conforming as to lot coverage. So again, this is 100%. I would expect the board, if it were to approve, would issue the same condition. These plans, again, were submitted prior to the waiting place decision, so the zoning table doesn't reflect the quote-unquote 100% lot coverage. All we're doing tonight is proposing to replace a portion of an existing deck and where there's a spa located, and replace it with a raised patio and pool. If I could show the board, I don't know. What I've highlighted in yellow are the existing conditions of the deck and spa. And this in yellow is what's going in. So it's a raised patio and pool structure. So this raised patio and pool structure will be wholly within the existing footprint of what's there now. So there is no expansion of any setbacks. There's no expansion of any footprint. We're actually reducing very slightly the overall footprint of what's existing. So again, if we were going by existing traditional lot coverage calculations, we'd actually be reducing lot coverage in this particular case. So we're not expanding into any other areas that's not already disturbed, and we are actually improving the setback, the northerly setback. We're going from, let's see, 11.2 to 13.1. So,
Under the old guidelines.
yes, well, no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the northerly side yard
Oh, I'm
setback.
sorry, I missed
That's
that.
improving. No, under the old,
But look what your 13.1 is to. It's not to the building, it's to step.
It's 2 steps, is right.
What are you talking? You sure you want to call it 13.1? Wouldn't you call it more than that? I'll leave that up to the zoning enforcement officer, but it doesn't seem like that's setback, 13.1. You see that, David?
I do see it.
so if you look at.
What's the stone landing, though?
Yeah, again, that's what the engineer did.
Stone landing, is that considered structure?
I'd have to defer to Dave. If
Okay.
you look at the structure though, it's 17.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I mean, you could argue, well, I'm not, you're the attorney. Well, your existing 11.2 is to the steps.
Right.
So I'm not so sure you're doing anything to set back. The 17 may be the dimension that holds on both situations.
It might be.
I wish the plan, he had done the plan.
Counselor, you should have looked at the plan closer.
I know, right? But again, it doesn't change the fact that it is a non-conforming structure, because, as I say, the front yard setback's non-conforming, the lot coverage is non-conforming, the setback to wetland is non-conforming, so it doesn't change our request for relief. The only thing I would say it may change is just that, again, we're not making anything worse than what's already existing, so, everything's within the existing footprint and, actually making it a little bit better.
So there's no increase in any nonconformity.
That is correct.
So I just want to make sure I understand this. The existing building, it looks like the closest structure is at least 17 feet?
That is
Is that what
correct.
you see, Ron?
Yes.
That's what I see, because I'm not zoning, I would rely on David's
kind of-
interpretation. But
it's kind of
stone
going around
landings
it,
and steps are not part of setback, so the building itself is 17 in both instances, because he's not changing the building per se.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I would say, and again, I defer to Dave, I don't know
Yes.
whether you consider those stone steps an access stairway like you would to the front door or something like that, maybe.
That's-
But again, I don't,
David's call.
Well, it's a required egress. You have a front, you need two egresses, so that would be a required egress.
Would that be,
With that said, I mean, the landing is allowed to encroach 4 feet, and the steps are exempt.
So
so that would not be included in setback, David?
is the setback to the
steps-
stone landing?
The landing is allowed to encroach 4 feet, so we're at about 13, we're probably at 17. The landing is allowed to encroach 4 feet into.
So do you think it's 17 pre and post? Before construction and after construction? So it
Yeah,
remains
but they're not
17?
changing that house at all.
right, yeah,
What
nothing
they're
with the house
changing-
is changing.
I just don't want to have any
Right.
new nonconformities by what you're doing.
No.
So what you're doing is, the house, if you look at the proposed, existing steps, they're going right from the corner of the house to the setback, so they're exempt.
Right, but what about the stone landing? That's off the ground. Is that,
That's on the ground, that is on the ground.
But he's taking
The
that
stone
out
landing-
and he-
well, it looks like there's
Built.
2 steps from the stone landing down to the lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like.
It appears that those are steps up to the landing, to,
Right.
for the RS,
So the
the rent
question is-
station. That's what it is.
Is the setback to the stone landing or to the house? You see what I'm saying there?
Yeah,
Ron?
you're right, you're
I
right.
totally do.
You're right, it is to the stone landing.
So what is that? Looks like normal steps.
10
Two
10
steps.
inches, 10 to 12 inches wide.
So let's say it's
13,
12,
13
maybe 12.8, 12.10, maybe 13.
Probably 13, just about what you have now.
So that would make it like 12.2 or 12.3, 12.4, right?
Right.
Setback to the, see,
Existing.
11.2 would then go to like 13.4, 13.5. But the proposed is still 13.1, so he's still not increasing on a setback. He's not, you're not
The
creating a new.
13.1 is to the steps again.
No, so 13.1 is to the actual, well, you're right. But there's only one step in that design. See,
Right.
there's only one.
Now, I'm not sure why we have a setback to the landscape.
Oh, I think he's just showing, that was where, when he did his existing conditions, that's 11.2 to the existing step, so to speak. So he's just showing where basically where proposed structure was now becoming landscape, and that's what
I think what we need to understand 100% is that there's not a new nonconformity.
there is no new nonconformities.
Well,
So,
From
but
your-
again, that's based on,
David, may I ask a question, Mr. Chairman? David, do you believe that there's not a new nonconformity
I
being made?
believe there is no new nonconformities.
All right, do we need this to be cleared up, so if somebody came and challenged it, it would be covered? Do you understand where I'm going here?
no, I understand. I would just,
We sign this off.
Right.
And it's ambiguous at all.
right.
It opens
Sure.
floodgates for,
Right, so
Controversy.
what I would suggest is similar to what we did on the last project, is condition, if the board were to approve it, to condition any approval on coordinating with Dave to make sure we're going to the right setbacks and revising the plan, and it'd be conditioned on, any approval would be conditioned upon, Dave certifying that there are no new nonconformities being created.
So the 11.2 would run to the edge of the stone landing with whatever that measurement would be?
that's to be determined, right.
Right.
That's gonna be the existing.
That should be determined by a plan showing that.
Right.
On the existing conditions plan, he shows 11.2 to the steps and stone
Right.
Okay? On the proposal, he shows 13.2 to the block steps.
Then that takes care of it.
I agree.
Well, that's what I would, that's my argument.
What's the, I'm sorry.
The proposal shows the 13.2, not the 11.2.
Yeah, but
It
see,
does,
the 11.2 doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't,
to the
it
step.
makes no difference.
because it's to the step, right? So you don't count
I
the step.
understand what you're saying,
So-
but I want the plan to be right.
Correct,
The proposal.
I agree with you that it's not closer.
right.
Well, are we certain of that?
I'm pretty certain.
I'm certain.
I just want the plan to,
Accurately reflect that.
yeah.
Right.
That's all.
So what-
Because we have to sign this off, it's gonna be a legal document.
So if someone to make a motion, how's that gonna be read? How's that gonna be stated?
That-
You know, you guys just say, here, here's the ball.
It's gonna bring it back with some adjustments to some ambiguous
Right. So I would,
numbers on the,
Great motion.
I guess I would suggest that the condition would be upon the applicant providing a revised plan showing setback to structure
from what sideline?
from the northerly side yard.
Okay. But that's on the proposed plan now.
The northerly side.
I think it is, but, I'll certainly ask Dave,
Yeah. Ron, it's on the proposed plan at 13.1.
Yeah, basically to the corner of the existing red,
But it's to the step.
is that the step or the rent station?
Oh, yeah, because they can't tell whether it's, yeah,
So
it's how it's
we're
described.
not really sure, we think.
Right.
So we need to be sure.
But I mean, even if you do it, if you take out the steps and move it, we're even further away from the side yard.
Correct.
I agree.
Correct.
As long as we can get the
Sure.
actual numbers, I'm happy.
So I would just say that, if the board were to make a motion in that effect, that the applicant will submit a revised plan to the building department showing the revised setback to structure as it is defined in the by the building commissioner.
On actual and proposed.
Correct.
And then it does not depict that it's been increased, that it's been an
an
additional
Non-conformity.
nonconformity.
Correct.
That's the key.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Great.
Good.
Leave it up. Yeah.
Well, a couple of things to read here. One is Falmouth Engineering email from Eric Borselli indicating that the property is subject to coastal storm flowage. All right, Conservation Commission, Conservation Department for 112 Waterway. This proposal was continued to January 26 to allow time for the applicant to provide proof of application to the zoning board, which obviously has now been done. Additional conditions have added mitigation plantings and prohibition on the use of fertilizer on the lawn in perpetuity. No other issues with this application, and I assume it will be approved on Thursday, January 26th. I recommend the ZBA proceed with their review as scheduled.
So,
Now
That was conservation?
that was Conservation Department. Which doesn't kind of tell us,
guys are making it awful tough for the guy that may make a motion on this. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna help you with this.
Oh, That's great.
and there's one more from the Board of Health, 112 Waterway. Septic is in front of house, no encroachment, no increase in flow, no concerns from the Health Department.
No other departments, right?
After January
Ron, I can't
26th
even begin
hearing.
to tell you how to interpret what it is.
So it's
Listen, if
conditions
you
on the-
can't, I can't. I don't have the classroom experience that you've got, so.
If I may, I also for this project, gave you.
Would love to see that, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, given Conservation's comments, they, advise the board that, you can proceed tonight, obviously conditioned upon them getting their approval.
So you understand any amendment to these plans, which is gonna be number 5, you
Have to come back.
to this board.
That is correct.
Okay.
Chris, have you got anything in writing from the Conservation Commission as to specifically what they wanted to do?
Well, they were concerned because, again, what happened, I think, at one of the prior zoning, conservation meetings is that somebody raised the issue as there's, I think in the regulations that requires somebody going before conservation to apply for all obtainable permits before they can get their conservation. So in this particular case, there was a question of whether zoning had been applied for yet, and it had been, but for whatever reason, the engineer there couldn't answer the question, so that's why they continued it. I don't think there were any other issues. There may have been some additional buffer, but otherwise,
No, it doesn't appear they have any other issues.
right.
Yeah, so we're assuming that on Thursday, January 26th, the
Tomorrow.
Conservation Department will approve it.
Yes,
Well,
and
we're
that's what Drew,
conditioning on
Yes.
their approval.
because they can't, he wouldn't be able to get a building
So
permit.
did you just say that conservation was requiring the applicant to seek and obtain all other permits prior to theirs?
Apply.
No, apply.
Not obtain, apply.
Not obtain.
That's the way the regulation reads. It says, apply for all obtainable permits. Not that you have to actually have them in hand, but you have to apply for them.
Right, right. I think what happened was the engineer that appeared in front of Conservation didn't know whether or not they had applied.
He did know that, for some
I
reason
just,
he
I mean,
couldn't answer.
that's our purview, right?
Yeah,
That's-
correct.
We're the last one, other than that
That's
gentleman right over there.
correct.
Exactly.
We're the last one in the line.
So again, as I say, it's not that they have to actually have a permit from this board, but I have to have
But
applied
there
for the
could be some
permit.
timing issue there. If their meeting is out too far, all of a sudden you're coming
Right.
to us first because you applied and she had to advertise.
Correct.
Then you're going to them after us, which I'm not really happy about.
Right.
As you know. I would like to have all permits issued before you come here.
Well, I agree.
For
Well,
me,
as I said, this was scheduled 2 weeks, they already had
I
a meeting
get
and
it.
they expected it to be approved at that time.
it's just, for me, one member again, I mean, I like to see comments from all boards, once they've seen your application, acted on your application, which gives me more knowledge in reference to voting for or against an applicant. Right now, I don't have any conservation comments.
Well, you
Other
do.
than they haven't been there.
Oh,
Well,
no, they have been there.
I see them, but they could have more during this, more things could come out of this hearing.
I suppose so, but I mean, given those comments, I mean, I don't know if Drew
No,
provides those.
I get it. It's
Seems
just you
pretty clear that he
understand
doesn't
why
have any issues.
We're
and-
last in the game, and the reason why we're last in the game is because we can compile all that information and make it, hopefully, an intelligent decision.
No, I understand that.
I think Chris is aware of that.
Yeah, well,
And
it seems as though we
he's been good over
keep getting
in the
kicked down
past
the road
about
by
making
various
sure
people. I don't know.
we get the last bite of the
No,
apple.
I mean, and generally, that's the way we've approached it. Unfortunately, in this case, really, it was only continued on a technicality that they, for some,
And you do have a recommendation that the ZBA proceed with their review and schedule.
You know what, Ron, you know what, a suggestion, for what it's worth. Subject to the approval of conditions imposed by the Conservation Department on January 26th.
Well, I was gonna say, and I think this does the same thing, so under the conditional departs, including but not limited to seeking and obtaining conservation approval January 26th,
That takes care of it.
Tomorrow.
right, tomorrow night.
which is the day after today, which is, we're gonna have far less information than we have tonight.
No, as again,
That's my point, I don't need to say anymore.
we expected the approval to have come 2 weeks ago when
No,
they
I
had
get
the
you,
meeting,
I
so.
got it. Enough said.
Any more comments, Ron? Okay, anybody in the audience? All right, hearing none. Ron, would you like to make a motion?
I would love to make a motion, another good one, so, I'd like to make a motion that we issue a written finding to Melissa A. and Mark J. Winters of 112 Waterway under sections 174-17, 174-33 of the zoning bylaw to allow for an extension, alteration of an existing deck and spa with a raised patio and pool on property located in R3 zoning district, map 105, parcel 219, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. One, the board has determined the applicant meets all conditions of written finding under Mass General Laws 48, Section 6. Two, existing condition plan, 112 Waterway, Mashpee, Mass, prepared for Mark and Melissa Winters, plan date November 21, 2022, scaled plan scale 1 inch equals 10 feet, prepared by Falmouth Engineering, project number 22005, drawn by LM, sheet 1 of 2, stamped and signed by Michael J. Borselli, civil number 35054, professional engineer, and Gary S. Labrie, number 40039, registered professional land surveyor. 3, site plan, proposed pool and patio, 112 Waterway, Mashpee, Mass, prepared for Mark and Melissa Winters, plan date November 21, 2022, plan scale 1 inch equals 10 feet, prepared by Falmouth Engineer, project number 22005, drawn by LM, sheet 2 of 2, stamped and signed by Michael J. Borselli, civil number 35054, professional engineer, and Gary S. Labrie, number 40039, registered professional land surveyor. Said site plan shall be corrected in the following manner. Lot coverage shall be depicted as 100% existing and 100% post. So pre-100, post-100, and it is a pre-existing nonconformity. It'll also depict lot coverage as used in the following manner. Building, et cetera, that was used in the past, post and pre. Also, there will be a clear depiction of the existing setback of the north rear, right rear, I think it's the northerly corner,
It's the northerly side yard setback.
northerly side yard setback in the right side, right on the rear. Well, it's the side toward the rear of the northerly side, correct?
The rear of the house. Right,
Exactly.
Right.
Depicting existing and proposed
Setback to structure.
setback cannot or will not depict an extension or expansion of that pre-existing nonconformity. Are you okay with that?
I would-
Because right now, we don't know, and we're presuming it's less than.
Right.
I-
I would just
I
say
would-
that
I
as
would
long as
just
we're not
say
creating a
that-
new
that
nonconformity.
really doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, I'll go with that. All right, do you want me? So I'll amend the
I
motion
agree
to
with
say
you.
that the, towards the rear northerly side yard setback is a nonconformity and will not be, so you don't want it expanded or that you
No,
will not create another nonconformity?
we just can't create a new one.
If it is a nonconformity, because he may say both of them aren't, and that means you got 17 feet to the side yard.
Right.
Right.
So if it is a nonconformity, that no new nonconformities will be created. If it isn't a nonconformity, then also no new nonconformities would be created.
Right.
Right? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. I told you this was going to
I
be.
know, I know.
Okay. I'd also like to read into the record the following reference to these minutes. Well, I'll go to number 4. Condition all town departments' comments read on the record. Said applicant shall seek and obtain, per the comments read in the record from Conservation's approval on January 26th of this year. Number 5, any changes to the plan require the applicant to return to this board. Number 6, board finds the application submitted of the proposed change, extension, or alteration shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure or the use of the neighborhood, and that there is adequate land area to provide sufficient parking, and there are no new nonconformities being created. Also, I want to point out that there are various aspects of the submittal that are improving the,
Well, probably on this one, I'd probably just say that we're not creating
well, I'll leave it at that. I'm not even going to read this in.
because we're not expanding or improving anything, we're just
I
staying
don't think I
within-
want to leave that in.
Okay.
Okay, one thing we want to add in is what Charlie said on the last one, about noting that 100% of this lot is
Okay. Well, I think.
land.
He did say that.
Subject
Yeah,
to.
but I think we handle it, so when you show the lot coverage, it's gonna show 100% in floodplain or whatever, right?
Correct.
And that's what,
Well, and the reason why.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct, right, because we're wholly within the.
that's how we handled the last one.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, right.
All right, is that it?
Yep.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Charlie seconds, so let's start. Brad, how do you vote?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
And Ron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Good job. That was a tough one.
All right, so you'll be sending something back outside.
Yes.
We can sign the house plans, can't we? Yeah, that's not gonna change. No, probably don't, because it's not a raise and replace. All right, George and Brad are on the next one. Charlie, you got this hearing off, Charlie.
Okay, just a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, the next new hearing is 5 Mercantile Way. Owner Suzanne Rogers requests a special permit under 17437, 17441M, 17425G14, 17445.6D, and 17425G6 of the zoning bylaws to allow for construction of a 7,440 square foot building for its lawn care and pest control business and for storage of vehicles on property located in an I-1 and light industrial overlay district at 88 parcel 106, Mashpee, Mass.
Good evening once again. Attorney Christopher Corain for the applicant, Keith and Candace McKean. They are the prospective buyers of 5 Mercantile Way. And I know that we submitted a letter of authorization from the owner of the property to allow us to proceed with this application. With me tonight is Dan Ojala from Down Cape Engineering and Roger Brooks and Joel Junquera from Cape Wide Construction. Dan is the project engineer, Joel and Roger are the contractors. So, again, this is typical of a lot of the projects, oh, sorry. Oh. And it,
I am here, folks. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is a typical project that has come before the board. We're located in the I-1 zoning district in the light industrial overlay district. We're proposing your standard Morton-style metal building. We're seeking permits under the contractor-based provision of 174-25G6 and 174-25G14, G14 is the contractor bay, G6 is the wholesale and roof structure. What we're proposing is a 7,440 square foot building. It's divided into 5 separate contractor bays. The applicants have their own home pest control and lawn care business, so they would keep vehicles on site. They would not be not stored in the building, but they would be on site as part of the project. So the building itself meets all dimensional requirements, so there's no variances or anything of that required. We do front on both mercantile and commercial. We meet all the setbacks. We meet the lot coverage requirements as set forth in the bylaw. The only relief that we are seeking for this board to approve is the parking relief. So we are proposing parking in the front, and that's basically because, unfortunately, the way the lot's shaped, the fact that we're on 2 roads, there's really nowhere else to put parking. And we're also seeking relief from, I think it's the 5-to-1 or 10-to-1 ratio of landscape to parking space within. And again, that's, due to the ability to place parking in there. The project did go before design and site plan review. They were both approved at that level. One thing that did come out of site plan, and the reason that I know Ed is on the line, is that they wanted, site plan wanted peer review. So I know Ed and Dan have been working cooperatively together to address any of the engineering concerns. So with that, I'm certainly happy to turn it over to any questions. I think the biggest questions will probably have to do with Ed's report and engineering, and that we've satisfied Ed. And then, in that particular case, I'd let Dan take the lead on that. So with that, I will open it up to the board.
Okay. Let's see. So tell me about parking.
So the parking, so we're required to have 14 spaces based on the office and industrial uses. We provided 17 spaces in a handicap, so we have enough sufficient parking. Your bylaw does require you to put parking on the side and in the rear.
Okay.
But,
I thought you were short parking space.
oh, no, this has to
The way
do
you
with,
said it.
this is location.
Location?
Yes, it's location. We have enough parking, but the location doesn't technically meet your bylaw definition, because it's supposed to be in the rear, in the front, or on the side. Here we have 2 roads, so we really can't be on the side, and there's really not enough room in the back.
It's the typical ask in an industrial zone.
Exactly. But no, but we do have sufficient number of spaces.
Okay. That was really my only concern.
Mr. Chairman, could we hear from Mr. Pesci?
Yeah, before we do that, do we have any other things we want to talk about?
I'd like to hold my comments until I hear from him, if I could, please.
Okay.
Through the chair, I could explain a little bit too. I had emailed Ed late today a revised plan, which I think cleaned up most of the issues, but I could just go through that briefly if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. So Dan Ojala from Down Cape Engineering. Ed, thank you very much for the very thorough review. I spent a good amount of the day today. We had some weather over the weekend, so I didn't get out there, but I was able to get out there today and recover all the existing drainage structures out there. And I'm pleased to report that we were a little bit concerned about the southwest corner there. There was a beehive basin that looked like it was full of silt. Well, come to find out, that was still the filter fabric from when it was constructed. And as soon as I poked through, it was a nice big clean basin, and it led to, and I got the design plans from Evan early today, and it's a 50 by 30 big, huge underground leaching galley there, brand new. So I think our concerns about making the storage a little bit bigger are allayed a good bit by that. So So the revised plan that I show, we made it a little bit bigger, but not too much. But the good news on that is it's a tremendous drainage system. That's the double basins that come in on the southwest corner there. And so I did make a revision and emailed it out. Unfortunately, I only brought one print with me, but we're happy to just have it approved contingent upon, satisfying Mr. Pesky with the with the revisions. So that was the most important one. Also, we had looked at Industrial Drive. There was a drainage manhole there that showed up on one of the older Baxter and I plans. Ed's gentleman that he sent out wasn't able to get the cover open, but I got a great big sledgehammer and beat on it until I got the cover loose. And sure enough, there was a couple of pipes in. We found an extra catch basin that was hidden. I dug it out about under a foot of muck on the side of the road there on Industrial. And again, this is all private. But the good news is it goes into an infiltration basin. It led to another one. I got that one, dug it up, opened it up, and I got the mirrored way down 6 feet below grade, and there's another pit. So there's actually a series of 3 over there. So very robust drainage system, dry as a bone even after the 4 inches of rain that we've had in the last week or so. So a good system and not on our lot, which is the other good thing. They plot out on this diagram here, you can see, and I did send an email to Ed. I don't know if he got it, but there's the 3 pits right along the edge of the road there. And then there's a 2-foot strip, a reserve strip against Industrial that they're into that just a little bit, but not onto our land in any appreciable manner. So that was good news. And then on the northwest corner, I was able to uncover that one as well. The initial, I see why everybody missed it. It was buried, so I shoveled that one out, and there's an extensive drainage system in the bottom of that retention area too. So the good news is all the road runoff seems to be very well handled. We, of course, are containing all of our runoff on our property, so no, we're not contributing to that one iota. And I think that that being the case, this revised plan, which I put today's date on it, will suffice. I know you guys can't really look at it because, but again, it's just the catch basins down there, Industrial. There's an extra basin and 3 pits shown on the southwest corner. There's a beehive basin and an extensive underground drainage system. In the northwest, there's a beehive basin and an extensive underground drainage system. Those were all done by Baxter and I Engineering as part of the original commercial street. This one on the south is older, but again, a very robust system. So I think that alleviates many of the concerns, and it was a good exercise, or at least I got good exercise opening up all those covers and shooting them in. But that's the good news, and we're absolutely happy to supply, if you would be so kind as to approve it, an erosion control plan which shows the apron that Ed requested as part of the building permit package. So I'd be glad to answer any questions if you do have them of me, and hopefully that clarifies to Ed a little bit more than my very brief email this evening. Thank you.
Has Ed seen all these updates?
You would ask him of that. I did email them to everybody at about just on the way down to the meeting. So,
Ed, have you seen all the updated plan? Uh-oh, have we lost you? Ed?
Oh,
Star-
sorry,
Star
I was on
6.
mute. I kept myself on mute there. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Yes, I've had time to look at the plans, Dan Ojala, Chris Terrain, good evening. Thank you. I see you guys live on Channel 18, but I'm talking to you real time because there's about a 5-second time lag on Channel 18. Thank you for letting me participate via phone. For those, just to give you an explanation, I normally would be there in person, but I've recently had rotator cuff surgery out of state, and I'm doing physical therapy and what have you, where I am here in Florida, and prefer to finish that process here before heading back north. So that's what I'm doing. So anyway, thank you. First of all, Dan, thank you very much for your explanation. I think I was able to review the plans while we were waiting, because you did email them earlier tonight. First, thank you for going out in the field and locating all that stuff and finding what you did in the southwest corner, both physically and also with the support of Evan Lair, the town planner, giving those plans. I assume that that's the grid that is shown on your plan now, because it wasn't labeled, but that's the infiltration gallery that goes off of that beehive grate. So I think that's great. I think it's more robust than anybody thought it was. But I agree that I think that will, with the enlargement, slight enlargement of the detention area that you're creating there, I think that will manage and correct any issues, or manage and properly address any drainage issues from public drainage off of Commercial Street that the DPW director was concerned about. I just heard you say, I just was going to ask about a erosion control plan. Sounds like you're planning to do that anyway, and submit that. I would certainly have no problem receiving that at a later date. While I had time to look, Dan, I just wanted to point out to, since you have in FES number 2 in the southeast corner, FES number 2 just needs to have riprap, obviously apron there. And because CB5 is in the bottom of that detention basin, I would recommend that structure have a beehive grate. And maybe for simplicity, CB5 and 6 both have beehive grate inlets so they don't clog like what happened on the existing drainage up on the northwest corner, because it was flat, nobody could see it. But I'm not anticipating that's an issue. But Mr. Chairman, I'm just looking at my notes and my previous comments. I think with this plan and with Dan's explanation and my other 2 minor comments I just mentioned about flared end section and beehive grate, I believe Dan is satisfactorily, or will satisfactorily, with the new erosion control plan, address all my previous comments, and I think it's a good overall plan. And I would certainly, if the board so inclined, would recommend approval contingent on receiving the final plans and the erosion control plan. I don't see any issue with that at all.
As well as the final sign-off, what Ron mentioned. In other words, the final inspection.
Correct. So that tonight, I was going to say, for your vote, I would have no problem with you voting to support the project, with my recommendation that a condition be to receive final plans, as Mr. Ojala just said, Dan just said, that addresses all my comments. So he'll have to address them satisfactorily to Pesci Engineering. That's reasonable. And then there was some discussion about having follow-on compliance inspections, if you will, just to close the project out, where we would make a visit during construction and at the end of construction and look at an as-built plan, ask the applicant to prepare an as-built plan to put in the file, and I prepare a letter saying we've been there to inspect the drainage. You're obviously going to have the Board of Health be inspecting the septic.
Yep.
Water department will be taking care of the water supply. And incidentally, thank you, Dan, for moving the water and electric to the other side of the site. That helps a little bit too. But I have no problem with doing those follow-on inspections for final sign-off and closeout of the project. That is a common procedure that I follow with the planning board.
And with the planning board, Ed, do you normally get those dollars up front? Do they, when the motion is made, is it inclusive of the dollars, or how is that motion made in reference to that inspection?
So the planning board has instituted a new process. I would have to ask Evan how it's done, but I would ask just, I was asked earlier what I think it would cost. I don't think with a couple of inspections and a follow-up letter, review of the final plans, I would say, just to be safe, we ask for the applicant to place in escrow $3,500. That should cover all of it, unless the construction goes an extended period of time, or there's some other problems with it. But that's generally a good step, and then whatever's not used will be returned to the applicant.
And we have your peer review bill now, right? I think I've seen that.
We
So-
do.
Mary Ann, how much do they have in escrow right now?
Nothing.
Nothing.
The way it handles, I submit that invoice to down,
Cape Wide.
Cape Wide,
Yep.
and they provide the check in the same amount. And then, whatever, it's like,
Do we not normally have escrow
No.
for these kinds of things?
It's different, so as Ed had
Okay.
alluded to, and the planning board, when I file it, the planning board, they take a check with the application for $5,000.
So what we probably can
We
do is
used to do
condition
escrow,
upon the
didn't
bill
we?
being paid and the condition, if we could, do you think, David, we could condition the occupancy based on the additional $3,500 being paid prior to the occupancy with the report being filed with you? So in other words,
Yes,
they don't have to pay the 35, right, so they pay the bill before they get a building permit.
We got a letter saying that it's all satisfactory.
Yeah, and so then what you would do is prior to the occupancy, they would have to issue another 3,500, which they would get part back if they don't use it all. There would be an inspection done by Mr. Pesci, and he would then give you his report, which presumably would be check, 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 done. And at that point in time, prior to the occupancy, do you believe you have the authority, and can you oversee obtaining the $3,500 or whatever those dollars may be? Or do you want this board to
Well,
figure out how to do it?
If I'm getting the approval letter from Ed, I would assume that that's all set.
Right.
So Ed, would it be okay with you to hold off on the approval letter until you submit a bill and obtain approval, or I'm trying to understand who's gonna oversee this.
So I would just condition the approval, recommend condition approval that the applicant establish $3,500, provide a $3,500 fee to establish an escrow account for inspections and close out of the project.
Okay.
At the time, at or before the obtaining of a building permit.
Okay.
Because I have to go out there and inspect.
All right, I got
during
it,
the construction period and at the end. And I need to write the letter before the certificate of occupancy is issued. Dave has to have that so he can issue the letter.
So there would be one check, but the check would be for the total amount you're due now, add 3,500 to that amount, and that amount would be an escrow amount that would be utilized for the inspections and the sign-off, and there may be a balance due back to the applicant, there may not be. Am I correct in that?
That would be a reasonable estimate, yes, that could happen. That could happen.
So do you want to?
Obviously, that you ask for funds today
Right.
to cover the current peer review effort, and then if they want, they can, provide the additional 3,500 to get it through the next step.
So what's the bill?
37.
So the bills,
37.2.
Oh, hold on. Do you have a comment you'd like to make? If you would, just your name and address.
João Junqueira, Cape White Construction.
Go ahead.
We have done this many times. When we apply for the building permit, we give a check to the building department. They keep the money and they take the money as go. Most of the time it was 5,000. So that doesn't matter to us if it's 5,500, whatever. That's how we've been doing for many times.
well, so right now you're 21, 41, 45, plus another 3,500, would be 56, 50, say 5,700 bucks.
No, you're missing one.
It's actually, the current invoice is 2301.45.
Okay, so 23 plus, 2301, so call it 23 plus 35, you're 5,800, I think, is that correct? You're a mathematician, Joe, right?
Many times the town send us some money back.
Yeah,
Then
so,
And I just want to also remind the applicant that they are not to write a check to Pesci Engineering, they're to write a check to the town of Mashpee.
and the total then would be, again, to just make certain, so it's 2,300 plus 3,500, which would be 5,800?
And change.
Correct.
I presume we can round it to 30, can we round it to 30, can we round that off to the 5,800, you think?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
good. So, all right, so does the applicant understand $5,800 at the time of, I guess, asking for a building permit prior to the issuance of a building permit, $5,800?
Yep.
Issued to the town of Mashpee. I have a couple questions, if I may.
Sure.
So what are you storing in the building?
So the fire department requires us to provide them with a chemical and hazardous materials list. I don't know that the applicant's actually provided that as of yet, but maybe.
They haven't completed it yet, but this is a template that I've given them.
Let me ask you let me tell you why I'm asking. I'm certain there are various people watching this very carefully in reference to the infamous tight tanks.
Yes.
And if there's going to be anything stored in that building and then we're gonna have floor drains, or if we don't have floor drains possibly, I've heard discussion around town already, other people were required, why, I wanna be very careful in this, as one member only.
Yeah.
If you're gonna store something in there that is hazardous to the groundwater, and we all know fertilizer, et cetera. There's a lot of things that we can depict as being very concerning to our groundwater we're trying to fix.
Yep.
All of a sudden, we have a tight tank.
Yeah,
Did this come up?
we have a tight tank, there's no question.
Okay.
So,
This probably came
I'll
up
make it very
during
easy for you. If
the
you have a
review, didn't
garage door in a commercial building, you
Yep.
need a tight tank.
Yep.
That's been the plumbing code for about 5 years. It took a few years for people to catch up with it, but absolutely unequivocally, every single bay has a floor drain. It leads to a double containment tight tank, so that's a tank inside of a tank with double.
So I just wanted to make
Vented through
apparent
the roof, absolutely unequivocally,
this
yes.
application has
Yep.
has the certified state double-wall tight tank.
Yep, and the details, yep.
You know what? It's all in here, so maybe
Yeah.
we should read this.
I think
the
it's
plan
important.
review.
I wanted to make that aware to everyone because
Yeah.
as people watch TV and they see an industrial application that may have fertilizer, et cetera, it needs to happen.
And it's important to note, too, that this particular site is not within a zone of contribution to a public well, so it's not in a Zone 2, and that always relaxes a little bit on the concerns, but still, absolutely, anything in a commercial building, even if it's in a zone or not, with the roll-up doors that you could pull a vehicle into, needs a tight tank. Now, that's not retroactive back, like if you have an older building, you don't have to add one, but for new construction, that's been the rule for several years now.
Charlie, would you like to read the recommendations from Plan Review Committee on this?
Yep.
Because they probably went over all of this stuff.
They did. Let me get the short ones first. One, Board of Health, system is designated, designed for office space and industrial warehouse, not to be used as an automotive shop. No concerns from the Health Department with presented plans. Conservation Department, no wetlands jurisdiction. Then we have dated January 17th, 2023, relative to 5 Mercantile Way. Recommendations from Plan Review Committee. Mr. Lara made a motion to recommend approval by the ZBA with the following. 1, the proposed regrading of the drainage retention basin within the grading and drainage easement along Commercial Street at contour 46 and 47 be evaluated appropriately by a qualified consulting engineer to ensure no detrimental impacts to the public's roadways, storm water facilities. 2, the dumpster enclosure be evaluated and modified if necessary to accommodate recycling in addition to trash collection and disposal. Number 3, the applicant provide to the fire chief a list of chemicals and their quantities to be stored for any and all businesses in the contractor bays. 4, for remaining construction inspections outside of the review of the grading and drainage easement area adjacent to the proposed driveway entrance plan review, recommends inspections be conducted by the design engineer, Mr. Ohala, with stamped written reports provided to the Board of Appeals for its files certifying that construction was completed in accordance with the approved plans. Number 5, no outside storage of materials unless otherwise approved by the Board of Appeals with a modification to any special permit that may be issued. And in order in terms of date, subsequent to that is an engineering report, a multi-page engineering report from Pesci Engineering and Associates dated January 23rd, 2023 to the Mashpee Zoning Board of Appeals. It's a 4 or 5 page letter. I suggest we just incorporate it with
I
whatever
think
we need.
that's appropriate, I think. John?
Yep.
And lastly is a comment from the Department of Public Works dated January 25th, 4:14 PM to Mary Ann from Catherine Laurent. I am in agreement with Ed's report with one correction. Commercial Street is the only town-owned road, so DPW will only assume maintenance of the drainage structures in the southwest corner of the drainage easement on the property, overflow for the catch basins on Commercial Street. Industrial Drive and Mercantile Way are both private roads, so the Association of Businesses on those roads are responsible for maintenance of their associated drainage.
Okay.
And that is the extent of what I have.
Okay, we also have a, let's see, looks like an email from Ed. Wednesday, the 18th, to Dan, and I think this probably has been handled already. Two things about erosion control plan and concerns expressed by the DPW director. Has that been handled?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in the comments received tonight and the proposal by Mr. Ojala to provide a erosion control plan at a later date.
Right.
Okay. One thing I wanted to bring up that Ron is always a stickler on, and I tend to agree with him, is the drainage swale area in the southwest corner. It looks like a big one, and the question is there a maintenance plan for that area so that it doesn't become a forest?
Yeah, right. Yes, we generally put an O&M plan in with that and would recommend an annual mowing to prevent woody growth. I believe that's in there. I would have to review it to be sure, but I can certainly add that language if you'd like. The growth does pull up some nitrogen, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but to your point, you don't want it a complete forest because you have to get in there to maintain it, so, yeah.
So how do we have
I would
teeth?
recommend that for the northwest corner as well.
That sounds good.
Northwest and
Yes.
southwest.
North and southwest.
But how do we get teeth to that? So you add something that gets on the registry of deeds that says it'll be maintained. It's built, it's turned over, this board isn't gonna oversee it. I don't think anyone, this board's gonna oversee, I can't speak for others. I don't believe the bill inspector's gonna oversee it or zoning enforcement officer. How do we oversee it? And in fact, if we find an issue, how do we enforce it?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that is up to the building commissioner to inspect it, and he would have to file, like he would with any violation. You'd issue a violation, you'd haul us back
See, it's a
here.
pet peeve of mine, especially the rain gardens, right? I mean, over the years, we've done so many rain gardens, that you drive around now and you see these rain gardens that don't have any of the right species anymore. They all die. And so they're virtually inoperative, or they're not producing like the way they should produce. And the town is talking about how we can get nitrogen out of the soils, and a lot of these drainage systems are not functioning as designed. And I don't know how, I mean, we can't put the burden on the town because either they don't have the capital, or they don't have the employees.
Cape White Construction has a contract with every, after we develop, or we sell or rent it to any people in the park. We have a contract. It's a moneymaker for our business to go and maintain that. So if you, prior to this meeting, most of the meetings, including Down Cape or Baxter 9, including a contract with us, and once a year, we go and take care of those.
How far out are those contracts written usually?
Well,
Are they yearly or are they every 5?
we do every year. You do
Yeah,
it.
but I'm saying, do you enter into a contract with a landowner, let's say in this property, for like a 5-year
Well,
contract or
we
just
do
one?
for a year. If they don't, the next year, if they don't want to do, we're going to come and bring to the building commission and say, they don't want to take care of it.
Okay.
So that's the procedure in place now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, what
You
is,
can go to the park and look in every building we did, they're completely clean.
okay, so what does the, quote, cleaning actually
We
consist of?
mow, we take weeds out, takes care.
Yeah, grab the mic if you would.
Mow the pond, take the weeds out. If it has, sometimes have to be, if any, on a design, if the planting has to be done, if planting die, we just replace the plant.
What about like sumps of catch basins and things of that nature?
Well, it's, the way it's designed is the mushroom is about
Yeah.
it's 18 inches high, so you gotta have a lot of stuff to go in there. I
Yeah,
would
but as you
never.
know, new construction, you may, if you don't put silt socks in, you're
We'll
gonna
do
fill it.
that. Right now on Mercantile, every job we're doing, you're looking out the drain and the road we have cover. We maintain, that's
I guess I can't beat the horse any more than I beat it, so, it is what it is.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things.
It's just what, we're gonna spend millions of dollars in this state to reduce nitrogen, right? And yet, we still continue to not have a program in place to protect against things so simple as something like this. And I understand what he's doing, which is a great process, But like he just said, hey, we have a contract for you right here. No, I don't want to do it next year. Things are a little tight, so we're not going to sign your contract this year. And so he either reports or not report, whatever. It's not his job to have to report it, okay? My point is this. We're spending billions and millions, if not billions of dollars in this state in reference to nitrogen, and we're doing things like this type of stuff. We haven't filled that hole, but whatever.
I would offer that you recently revised your bylaw to require grass line swales, which we've always done, but now it's actually the letter of the law, and so it's in the zoning bylaw. I would think that if an owner isn't maintaining it, somebody can drop a dime, and the zoning enforcement officer could have a word with him.
I've driven around a couple of times and looked at various things, some that I built in this town years ago, and I can tell you right now, most of them are not functioning as designed.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, but, I mean, we don't have something, we can talk about it all night, it's not gonna get us in.
Yeah.
So, let's
Well,
move on.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just make two comments. First of all, the stormwater O&M plan that was included with the original submission does refer to maintaining the stormwater detention areas and making repairs to them as needed. So it's under the schedule of inspection and maintenance of the stormwater management system. And it mentions here, if slow infiltration is noted during storm events, the infiltration trenches or dry wells should be repaired and rebuilt as necessary to restore function. And I guess that point is already in writing, and that could be enforceable should it be necessary. But I guess the overall point I wanted to make, although your point is certainly valid, that we don't always police this at a later date, which is why we try to ask for an O&M plan up front and the responsibilities on the property owner. If you look at the grades in Industrial Drive, in Mercantile and Commercial Street, and then you look at the stormwater management systems that drain that end of Mercantile and Commercial Street, if those systems fail, we understand that the one in the southwest corner of Commercial Street, the DPW director indicated that they would take responsibility of that in the
Site's
future.
gonna get inundated.
But if those systems fail, they're going to flow onto their property, and they'll be the ones concerned about fixing it.
It's the partial failure that I get concerned of, that, the hats that are, that have no sumps left in them, and so they're halfway up the tees and the catch basin. You know what, Ed? We can have a conversation for the next 2 days, we're not gonna get anywhere, so I'm okay with it.
Understood.
Yeah, okay. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, did you submit a lighting plan, and was that approved?
So very simple, because this has a good-sized building and there's very little parking around it, we just did building-mounted lights. They'll be downcast. If you need something, we can, or I think Roger's got a source that could provide one, but it typically is a very low-level downcast LED, so it would say dark sky compliant, and no separate pole lights. The only thing I would correct that is that the sign does have a couple little tiny lights on it, but that's very, very de minimis.
Good question. Where's the sign going to be?
So that's on the left-hand side of the driveway as you come in. It's the little symbol. It's
Commercial
in the
Street.
legend, there's a little symbol there. It's a little hard to see, but there's, looks like a dumbbell with two little light symbols on either side of it.
Commercial Street, and then there's a
Right here,
looks like a stick person.
coming in on the left.
We didn't see the sign at design review, did we?
Well, there was only location, there's no sign.
We'll have to come back.
It hasn't been made yet.
Yeah.
It would have to come back. So it was location only at design review.
And it looks like your parking is in the back and the front. Certainly nothing on the Industrial Drive side. I can't see any places other than that. So I guess my question is on that lighting, there's some lighting there. Like in the winter, somebody gets out of work at 5:30, walking to the car, there's some lighting there.
There's enough, yeah. You can look, the symbols are on the gable end of the roof. We'll just have a low-level wall pack that shines down, not up, and should cast light on that. On the front, we've got 3 lights. The symbol is like a little crown symbol. It's in the legend there, but that's demarcated on the plan. And
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. All the gable ends have that.
See it?
On the building elevations as well, okay, yeah.
Okay, that's all I've got. Ed, any final comments?
No, sir, I think we're good.
Okay, David?
I'm good.
Okay.
Could I just ask Mr. Pesci one question in reference to a motion if we're asked of me to be made?
Go for it.
Mr. Pesci, I have a question. I've got a list of these following items if I'm asked to make a motion. Number one would be a final plan depicting the changes requested by you, an erosion control plan, and it's a check issued to the town of Mashpee in the amount of $5,800. Am I inclusive, or did I forget something?
That's good.
Okay. Got it.
Any final comments, anybody? Nope. Okay. Anybody in the audience? Mary Ann has a comment.
Require CBA review if, for any more, tenants that occupy the other spaces.
Good point. So any tenants that move in, it'd be a ZBA review because we have no idea what they're going to be putting in there.
That's correct. Yes.
Is it always a ZBA review, or does the zoning enforcement officer make the decision whether it goes?
It might go to plan review, also?
All
Could
ZBA?
go to, yeah, it could go to many.
It may not come to us, is my point.
It may not.
I would probably,
Probably
suspect
plan
it probably
review.
would come back to you because every use in the industrial district requires a special permit.
How about if you worded appropriate review by the town of every tenant to move into the property?
Isn't that in the zoning now, though?
Probably.
Well, what if, a homeowner wants to store his stuff in there? Would that be,
Yeah, I mean-
would that be used,
Right, I mean, the bylaw, I mean, if you look at the bylaw and you look at the table of uses.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at the industrial, everyone has an SP, any one of these uses has an SP. So if it's one of the uses that's in there, it's gonna come back before this board,
Got it.
so.
So you're in agreement, and I believe the applicant must be in the same agreement, that any type of use that he has in there is gonna come to this board? Other than, well, that's, I can't say that, because if he could go to the zoning enforcement officer, David has the right in his position to say, no, it doesn't have to go to the ZBA, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
So really, it's,
No, I mean, I would think it would either come to this board or the planning, or the.
well, but you mentioned like somebody, homeowner wants to
Planning,
store their
design
TV
review.
there. I mean, you're not gonna make them go
I'm
anywhere, are
trying to
you?
think of something why it wouldn't, but,
Any commercial use would come.
No, I get it, but I can conceive some crazy things where you're not gonna bring it anywhere, I would think.
Maybe.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, there's
Right.
whatever, but that's
it would
certainly
go
his
to
call.
the granting authority, go to the granting authority.
Correct.
And just so we're clear, the request right now is for the two largest bays for the McCann's, Weedman, the two largest. They may only do one, but they'd like
Well, I
permission
think
to do both.
that's very important. So
Yeah.
I think it has to be,
The
we
two-
have to spell out what
Yes.
bays are being used
Yeah.
for what use.
And I don't know if they're numbered, but the two largest bays are by the applicant. And
So
then-
that's,
And that
the
wouldn't
two
have to come
largest
back.
bays are gonna be utilized
Yeah.
by the applicant.
Correct. And if they're not, we'll come back. But certainly, he's allowed then to use up to two. If he uses one and opens a building, he doesn't have to come back. As soon as somebody goes into one of the other bays, would come back.
Well, I mean, I guess I would be hesitant to constrict it that way because I'm asking for the use of the contractor bay. If they want to use all 5 units as contractor bays, then I should be allowed to do that. That's what I've
I
asked
agree.
for.
Oh,
All right,
okay,
so
yeah.
I'm just no longer part of the motion. Am I correct in that statement?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
It's already covered.
Right.
They have to come back.
Exactly.
And
Right.
somebody new goes in anyway.
Right.
So,
Yeah, D1 office for landscaper, G14 bay for landscaper, similar landscaping business, contractor building yard.
Yeah, so I mean, if it was a landscaper, you probably could do it again, but if they wanted to do like a contractor's yard, it'd have to come back before this board, because I have not asked for that.
Right.
yeah, because there's no room.
Yeah, there's no room.
Good point. It's only an acre, yeah.
Okay, any final comments before Ron makes a motion? Okay, Ron, if you would.
Certainly. I'd like to make a motion that we issue a special permit to Suzanne Rogers of 5 Mercantile Way. Said special permit is under section 174-37, 174-41, open paren, N, M, close paren, and 174-25, open paren, G, close paren, and open paren 14, close paren, and 174-45, period 16, open paren D, close paren, and 174-25, open paren G, close paren, and 6, open paren 6, close paren, of the zoning bylaw to allow for construction of a 7,440 square foot building for its lawn care and pest control business for storage of vehicles and property located in I-1 and light industrial overlay districts, map 88, parcel 106, Mashpee, Mass, with the following conditions. 1, the board has determined the applicant meets all the conditions of a special permit under Mass General Law 48, Section 9. 2, site plan prepared for Keith and Candace McKean, date December 19, 2022, scale 1 inch equals 20 feet, sheet 1 of 2 prepared by Down Cape Engineering and stamped and signed by Dan Olay, Professional Engineering, number 46502. Said site plan is going to be further revised with the final comments of the peer review engineer, Mr. Pesci, and also to include an erosion control plan. So again, the site plan will be amended with a revision date, including the final requested changes satisfying Mr. Pesci, and to include a erosion control plan. Number 3, building plans, Project McKean, Condominium Mashpee, 5 Mercantile Way, date issue 12/14/2022, prepared by Cape Wide Construction, Inc., sheet number A1, ground floor plan, sheet number A2, south elevation, north elevation, east and west elevations. 4, condition on all town department comments read into the record, including but not limited to the recommendations from the Plan Review Committee dated January 17, 2023, and Pesci Engineering and Associates, Inc., peer and technical engineering review letter dated January 23, 2023. Prior to the request of a building permit, the applicant shall issue a working capital account in the amount of $5,800. Said check shall be issued to the town of Mashpee and shall be utilized to pay for the existing peer review and for future peer review inspections and sign-offs.
Okay, before we go to a vote, Charlie, did you read in Board of Health on this?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, do we have a second?
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm all set.
Okay. All right, again, Brad and George are on this, do we have a second?
Second.
Well, okay. So we have a second, so, Brad, how do you vote?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
And Ron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Ed for all his hard work on this one, too.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Well. I hate you.
So much
You know,
of
'cause
this,
they never
there's
go
so
back
much
the way
going
they
on
were.
in these commercials.
That's why I always roll plans up. Always.
Remember when we used to have them in the
So
automobile
easy
instead
to
of
get
the cell phone?
Watch this, guys. See, this becomes very simple. We do this, we go like this.
There you go.
These are,
Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, man. We'll talk. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, do a good job. I agree with you. Really do.
I know, right? Thank you, sir.
okay, all this too?
Yep.
Any more to sign?
No,
Only signed one. Did I sign a, these are the house plans, so to speak. Did I sign a plot plan?
Yeah, so the site plan, you're going to get a final one based on Ed's comments, so
Then you're gonna get another new one.
we'll get another one.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir. Going on?
Thank you, sir.
So much paper flying around.
right.
It's like,
It's tough to keep track of it all.
Is that the wife, Billy?
I'll be home soon.
No stopping on the way home.
That's good, that's good. That's good.
Okay. I don't want to hear your Bobby Burns.
Dominoes.
The spam
No,
call.
he's not here.
Dominoes.
That was really your wife, wasn't it? Yes, it was.
No, it was nobody. There was nobody there.
Ring back.
My wallet fell out of my pocket.
Ooh, that's not good.
That's not good.
All right, we all set?
Yep.
Papers finally done? All right. On this one is going to be Charlie and Brad.
Okay. Last item, as far as new hearings, 2941 Echo Road, petitioner 3M Ventures, Inc., DBA Triple M Management Company LLC, requests a modification under 174-24C9CE of the zoning bylaws and condition number 5 of its previously extended, from its previously extended date of February 26, 2023 to August 31st, 2023, on property located in the I-1 and Light Industry Overlay Zoning Districts, map 19, parcels 3-8, 3-9, Mashpee, Mass., owner of record Triple M Management Company, LLC. And we have the letter from Christopher Corain dated January 2023, requesting the continuance.
Do you want us to read it in? Or you just want to explain it?
I can just explain it, because, again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Attorney Christopher Corain, representing Triple M Management. This is a property at 2941 Echo Road. With me tonight is Kevin O'Reilly from, with Triple M. We were before this board last August because the special permit set a deadline for completing the expansion to August of last year due to construction delays and the like, engineering delays. We requested an extension to February 26th of this year. Unfortunately, due to weather, project delays, contractor delays, if I know those in the industry are certainly familiar with, we need to request another extension to the end of August. I did provide the board some photos of the progress. The first floor decking is up, the walls, first floor walls are up, the trusses are so I hope that that satisfies the board that we're not just sitting on this permit. We are actively moving this project forward. So that is my request.
I have no problems.
I have no issues.
I have no issue.
I drove by and you're certainly starting to move.
Yeah, it's certainly in the last week and a half or so, things have.
I mean, it laid dormant for a while, and I understand what's going on in the world, I get it, but it laid dormant for a while,
Yes.
and it's now, looks like it's moving.
Yeah, it's moving quickly, so I don't know if there's an expectation that maybe it'll be done before August 31st, but.
It's our fervent hope.
Under the next slowdown.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
David, any
The
comments?
next pandemic.
I'm good. I'm good with it.
You're satisfied with
Yeah,
how
I
it's?
have no issues with it.
Okay.
And Conservation and Board of Health have no issues.
Anything else on this?
Should have put this one first on the agenda.
We had this only on the agenda. Would have been much easier on me.
I know, right?
Anybody in the audience have anything to say? Ron, would you like to make a motion?
I'd love to make a motion. Love to make a motion that we issue a modification to Triple M Management LLC. Actually, it's to Petitioner 3M Ventures, doing business as Triple M Management LLC, of 29/41 Echo Road. Said modifications under 171-24, open paren, C, close paren, open paren 9, close paren, open paren C, close paren, open paren E, close paren, of the zoning bylaws, and condition number 5, the special permit decision SP-2020-28, to extend the date of completion of construction from its previously extended date of February 26, 2023 to August 31, 2023. Property located in I-1 Light Industrial Overlay Zoning District, map 19, parcels 3-8 and 3-9, Mashpee, Mass. Owner of record, Triple M Management Company LLC, with the following conditions. 1, board accepts the request for modification of special permit under 174-24, open paren C, close paren, open paren 9, close paren, open paren C, close paren, open paren E, close paren, of zoning bylaw, and condition 5 of the decision, SP-2020-28, to extend the date of completion of construction from its previously extended date of February 26, 2023 to August 31, 2023.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Brad seconds, so let's see. Brad, how do you vote?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Well done, good luck on the project.
Spread the word out there.
I will. That's all I have for tonight, and
Thank you.
we'll see you in a month, I guess, as Mary Ann takes a well-deserved vacation, well-earned vacation.
Well, you were on
Chris,
vacation
thanks
the
for
last
spending
time
the
we
night
had a
with
hearing.
us.
Your
Yes,
father covered
absolutely. Thank you.
Father did a great job, by the way.
I know, I heard, so. He enjoyed coming back. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, we have other business, don't we?
just other business and we're done.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Need signatures on this last one. Okay. We have to vote on these.
Do we have to vote on the two?
Invoices?
The
Two
Pet
invoices.
sheet- The pet sheet. I get them.
One I cannot vote on was Mashpee Commons.
We still get 5. We still have 5.
Perfect. If you want, I want to abstain from both, that way just one person can read them both. Does that work for you?
What are you trying to skip out?
Charlie, do you have copies of them?
I'm just not going to be party. The two.
Okay. Good. All right, so the first and only other business is to approve the invoices sent in regarding two different projects. And if you would, Charlie, go over those two invoices and what they're for.
I will. First is invoice 2023-2070, dated 1/24/23, for project and location Mashpee Commons, engineering peer review services. And the bill is to the Mashpee Zoning Board of Appeals. Attention, Mary Ann Romero. There are a number of items on it. The total is $4,318.84, with a description of the services provided, the hours, quantity, and rate, and the total amount for each of the specific dates.
Okay, George, would you like to make a motion to accept that?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the invoice dated 1/24/23 for Pesci Engineering Associates, reference Mashpee Commons, engineering peer review services.
I'll second.
Bill seconds, and Brad, how do you vote?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right, let's get the next one.
Second invoice is invoice number 2023-2071, project and location 5 Mercantile Way, engineering services, peer review services, Bill to Mashpee Zoning Board of Appeals, attention Mary Ann Romero. The total amount of $2,141.45, indicating a description of the services provided, the hours, the rate, the total amount for each of the designated dates, all of which add up to $2,141.45.
George, would you like to make a motion on that?
Something,
Sure.
and I can speak on this one, not the last one, but for some reason, Mr. Pesci said it was 2,300 the bill was owed to.
Please, move.
No, it is 21.
And remember you said, and that's why I made it 58, 35 plus 23.
They get back their money anyway.
I'm just, whatever.
So we'll make a motion.
I thought you
I'd like
just
to make a
said fuzzy
motion
now.
to accept the invoice dated 1/24/23 for project and location, 5 Mercantile Way, engineering peer review services from Pesci Engineering and Associates.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I think Brad second.
Oh, he beat me.
Brad, how do you vote?
Yes.
Charlie? Yes. George?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Ron?
Oh,
No, you're
Ron's
out.
not on,
Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay.
ask the question.
Somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn tonight's meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll second it.